to Marketplace Africa. Now, our guest on FaceTime this week is Obiamaka Madubuko. She advises U.S. companies on foreign investment opportunities, and she says she tells them that Africa's value is on the rise. She sat down with Stephanie Elam in New York.
Is there an example of a country in Africa that you can think of that's a good example of taking advantage of international investment?
There are several. There are several. I would say South Africa is one. They are the largest economy and most diversified economy on the continent. They have done a very good job, as the World Cup was a great example of showcasing their strengths and really focusing on bringing more people to learn about what is South Africa about. Nigeria is another one. Nigeria, I can also say this because my father comes from Nigeria and does business there. And so I've had experience with, I call it my country because I am a Nigerian. And I have found that it's an exciting business environment. People who are interested in doing business in Africa cannot ignore Nigeria. It's the most populous country on the continent. The opportunities there are immense, but it is a challenging business environment, particularly when it comes to areas of managing corruption risks.
And I think some people also have a vision that there's a lot of corrupt government, not just, not just the fact that they may be going through a lot of turmoil, but the fact that they do have governments, but it's really corrupt. And so I think a lot of companies have made to say, you know what, I'm just going to back away because that's going to be too hard to deal with and find out that our money's going to all the wrong people. Is that something that you've seen?
Yes, I have seen that. And there is a reality of a risk of corruption when you do business in what they call emerging or developing markets. A lot of my practice involves representing companies who do work in international markets. How I tell companies to try to deal with those risks when they're going into places where there is a known or perceived high risk of corruption is to go in with your eyes open, making sure that you have knowledgeable people on your staff who can advise you on corruption risks. For example, here in the U.S., there's a law called the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and it says essentially any U.S. company, you can't bribe a foreign government official when you're trying to get business or to keep business anywhere in the world. And this law is a broad law. It's not just for U.S. companies. It affects foreign companies who have business in the U.S., who trade on the U.S. stock exchanges. And it affects any company who hires a U.S. person anywhere in the world. So the reach of this law is very broad, and the penalties for violating it have been going up. Companies have been getting sanctioned millions of dollars.
That's really interesting. So what about if you're just doing business in a different country? Do you have a lot of things that can protect you as a company in that situation?
Yeah, if you're doing business in a company, you should have your own compliance plan. So there is this law that says, please don't bribe people. And if you do, you'll be in a lot of trouble. And typically, this is what drives a change in behavior. So companies, knowing that there is a law like that out there and knowing how strongly it's enforced, create their own compliance programs. So if they go in country, they tell all their employees, you have to abide by these rules. And the rules are put up in place to monitor and protect them against corruption risks.
You think it's possible in like 25 years, people won't be referring to Africa as a whole as an emerging market?
My hope is in less than 25 years, Africa will have the same kind of cachet as, it will still be considered a region just as we have the EU, but it will be a powerhouse that people will have to recognize when it comes to economy. And they will have to recognize that it is a major player in terms of global marketplace.
Some good points there. Now, here's what's trending this week.